I was still in the parking garage, keys in the ignition, engine not yet running, when my passenger door opened and Adrian Cho, CEO, 41 floors above my cubicle on the org chart, a man I had spoken to a total of 6 times in 18 months, folded himself into my passenger seat like he'd been invited. "Drive," he said. "Anywhere I'll explain on the way. You can't just get in my car." I just did. He buckled his seatbelt with the calm of a man doing something entirely reasonable. "We're going on our first date. You don't get a vote." I stared at him. "I don't get a vote on my own date." "You got a vote 3 weeks ago," he said. "You voted yes about 9 different times without saying a single word out loud, and I'm choosing to believe those votes still count." He wasn't wrong, which was the infuriating part. 3 weeks ago, a Thursday, a fire drill that turned into 45 minutes standing on the sidewalk in October wind because someone burned popcorn on the 9th floor. Adrian had ended up next to me by accident of alphabetical evacuation order, and what started as small talk about the absurdity of a company-wide evacuation over popcorn had turned into 45 real minutes, him asking actual questions and listening to the actual answers. Me forgetting entirely that I was talking to my CEO instead of just a person who happened to be funny and unfairly easy to talk to. I'd gone back inside and told my friend Denise it was nothing. Denise had not believed me. Correctly, those weren't votes, I said now, pulling out of the parking spot because sitting in a garage arguing about it felt more ridiculous than just driving somewhere. That was small talk during a fire drill. "You laughed 4 times in a way you don't laugh at things that are merely fine," Adrian said. I counted. "I also may have found an excuse to walk past your floor 11 times in 19 days, which I'm aware is a number I should not say out loud. And yet." 19 days, he said. I did the math on the drive down so I'd have it ready, because I suspected you'd ask for evidence and I wanted to arrive prepared. "This is insane," I said. Stopped at a red light, looking at him instead of the road for exactly as long as the light allowed. "You're my CEO. There's an entire HR department whose job is to have opinions about this." "I called HR before I came down here," Adrian said. "I'm aware how that sounds. I have 0 direct or indirect authority over your role, your team, your reviews, or your compensation. I checked the org chart this morning specifically so that sentence would be true before I said it to you. I filed a disclosure. I did the boring, correct version of this before I did the impulsive version. You did paperwork before you jumped in my car. I did paperwork so that jumping in your car wouldn't be a mistake I had to apologize to a lawyer for," he said. "I wanted the reckless part to actually be reckless. Not reckless, and also a liability. There's a difference." I laughed despite myself. The light went green, and I drove because apparently I was doing this now. "Where are we even going?" I asked. 3 blocks in. No destination named, no plan visible on his face, beyond the raw confidence of a man used to decisions working out. "I have no idea," Adrian admitted. "I'll be honest, the entire plan was catch her before she leaves the garage, and I did not think meaningfully past that point. This is, structurally, a disaster. You told me I don't get a vote, and you don't even have a destination." "The lack of a destination is exactly why the not getting a vote thing works," he said. "If I'd shown up with reservations at some place with candles, you'd have every right to veto it as try hard. This way it's just wherever, democratic in the sense that neither of us has decided anything yet. That is the worst logic I've ever heard. I stand by it completely." We ended up at a diner 2 miles from the office. The kind with a laminated menu and coffee that had clearly been sitting for at least an hour, and somehow it fit better than anywhere his salary could have taken us. "Can I ask something?" I said, over eggs neither of us had really touched. Why? Now. Why today, specifically, instead of just asking? Like a normal person. At some point that wasn't this dramatic. Adrian turned his coffee cup a quarter turn, considering it more than the question needed. Because normal person asking gives you an easy out, he said. You say, let me think about it, which is the polite way of saying no without saying no, and I don't blame you for that. It's the correct instinct when the person asking outranks you on paper. I didn't want to hand you a version of this where saying no was awkward and saying yes was brave. I wanted to just remove the whole apparatus. Show up already committed, so all you had to decide was whether to kick me out of the car, which is a much easier bar to clear than accept a date with your CEO. That's either the most thoughtful thing anyone's ever done for me, I said, or the most elaborate way to avoid asking a direct question I've ever heard in my life. I choose to believe it's both, he said, echoing his own earlier line back without seeming to notice, and something about the accidental symmetry of it made me laugh again, easier this time. For the record, I said, you do actually have a vote. I would have said yes if you'd just asked. I know, Adrian said. That's what made this stupid instead of necessary. I did the elaborate version because I was scared of the plain version, which is a very expensive way of being a coward, and I'd like to formally admit that on the record, since I've made you sit through my entire reasoning already. So the whole "you don't get a vote" bit was mostly for me. He admitted, it's much easier to be bold about someone else's choice than honest about your own fear. I dressed up "please say yes" as "you don't get a say," because the second one felt like less of a risk to say out loud. I recognized the irony of a CEO being braver on paper than in person. So ask the plain version now, I said. Since we're being honest, he set the coffee down, looked at me properly for the first time since the parking garage, all the performance gone out of it. Would you like to be here? He said. Actually here, not commandeered here. If I'd asked you this morning instead of ambushing your car, would the answer have been yes? Yes, I said. It would have been yes. Good, he said, and the relief on his face was more convincing than every confident line he'd said in the car combined. Good, I'd like to do all of this again, properly, next time. With an actual destination. And an actual vote, which I'll ask for out loud like a person who isn't terrified. Deal, I said. Though I'll admit, the car thing worked. I'm annoyed about how well it worked. I'm aware, he said. I'm choosing not to feel too smug about it, out of respect for how badly the plan could have gone. Has someone ever done something a little reckless to reach you, skipping the safe, easy version of asking, because the safe version felt like too much of an exit ramp for both of you? And if you're honest, is there a version of yes you've been waiting for someone to make easy enough to say?